Hello, welcome to another Digital Control Systems Technology lecture. In today's lecture, we are going to be discussing on about an interesting topic that is relevant to digital control systems and building digital control systems. That is creative thinking in system design. So, when we talk about building these digital control systems, and we have discussed about various technologies and found foundational theories behind digital control systems. But when we take that knowledge and when we think about building systems that are going to be used in real world environments, there is a certain amount of creative thinking and design thinking that is needed for those systems to be successful, accepted, and be usable. So, that is one of the important things that we will have to think about when we want whatever the systems that we develop, whatever the systems that we design, and if we want them end up being used in real world applications, being used to solve problems, then we may have to think about some of the concepts, some of the aspects that we'll be discussing in today's lesson. So, when we ask a question, what is design? Many of you may be familiar with the word design in some aspect. You may think of it from a artistic point of view, think of it from a point of drawings, and you are correct in many ways. And when we think of it from an engineering point of view, from a technology point of view, here the main way that we understand the concept of design is about how we are going to use them, or rather, how we would be coming across these things in our usage of design. So, it can be seen in two different ways. One is design as a noun. So these are the plans that we would have. So any sort of design plans that we would have. So these can be drawings, CAD models, flow charts, all these things. These are the design, the noun that we would come across. Then another way that we can look at design is what is known as design as a verb, or the act of designing, doing the design. So, this is where we would talk about the processes that are involved in designing. So, this is where we would think about what is our goal for doing a particular design. So, we should have a plan, but that plan should also come from a goal that we had. So, in a broader sense, designs and systems can apply to anything. So it can be larger engineering systems like a power plant, or a vehicle, or any control system that you may be designing as part of this course. But it can also be other systems like educational systems, artistic aesthetic systems, legal systems. So many things can have this concept, and many of the things that we will be looking at in today's discussion can apply to many of these other domains as well. But we will be mainly focusing on the technical systems, the technical domain of designs. Then, when we think about developing a good design, There are certain things that we need to have to achieve good design. That is, we should initially have some goals, some well defined goals for a project. For example, if we are engaged in a technical project, there we should identify the specific set of goals and we should know them very well. So, for example, if you think about the projects that you are doing, you should know what is the goal for doing this project, what is the problem that you are trying to solve. Then once you have the goals, then you can have some plans as to how you are going to do that. So those are the design plans. But one of the best things that you can have is what is called co-evolution. So what we get with co-evolution is both these goals and plans evolve together and one influencing the other. So that is, say you will start with a goal. This is the problem that we need to solve. Then you will start making plans. And while making plans, you will identify certain things can be done, certain things can be done better. So you may go and refine your goals. You may extend your goals. You may cut down on your goals. You may recalibrate the goals. Then that in turn will influence what the plan is. So both the plans and goals should influence each other. And if we have such a co-evolution happening in our designs, then we will be able to achieve much better outcomes as part of our designs, as part of the overall projects. Then even when we think about goals and plans themselves, one of the realistic things that we will come across is we may have multiple goals and also multiple plans. But then we will have to make certain decisions in terms of identifying if some goals are more important than others. So, if we identify, oh, these are the five different things that we are trying to solve, but if we don't have enough time to solve within a project time frame, or we don't have enough budget to solve all those problems, then we may have to select some of the goals that are more important than the others. Similarly, if we have a problem, that problem can be solved in many different ways. So, that is, we can have many different plans to solve a particular problem. So, then if we have few different ways to solve a problem, then we may have to choose what is the better plan among those for our particular requirement. So we can choose a better plan based on which would take the short amount of time to build, which could be least expensive, which is technologically advanced, which is error prone. So various reasons maybe there. Sometimes even in a, say, in some of your projects that you were doing as part of this course, things like the available resources may be a factor. Things like power consumption, mobile applications, so various different things can influence in terms of identifying some plans as better than the others. And one of the other things to remember is not all plans and all designs are going to end up working. There may be some that would be better in achieving the goals and others may not. So this can again be due to various things. The time frames available to do a project, implement a design, the budgets that we have to implement a design, the resources, the manpower, various things can dictate that not all designs will work in all circumstances. So, again, we will have to think about these things as well when we are going about designing projects and implementing those designs and building those designs. So, when we say we have these multiple goals and some of these goals are important, and we have multiple plans, and some of these plans are better than the others, then we will have to ask a number of questions. That is, how do we identify our goals first? So we need to identify the goals that we have. Then, among all the goals that we have, we will have to identify which are the important ones. Then, similarly, how do we go about thinking about alternate plans? So, not just a single plan, maybe alternate plans. Then, based on that, we will have to modify the better plans based on the knowledge that we have. So, again, we may, in certain cases, we may have to modify the plans that we have and assessing which are the better ones again among the plans. So, these are some of the things that we will have to do. These are some of the questions that you will have to answer when you are tasked with designing a project, when you are tasked to building a project, designing a control system. These are some of the things that you will have to think about. One of the ways that we will do this is using what is called the design thinking process. So, the concept of design thinking process is this: it is going to be a iterative process. You will go through this process in a cyclic manner. So, it is not a linear process where you go once and you are done. This is more of a cyclic process. So, that is what we want to achieve here. So, what we will do is we will initially go and find the goals. So, what is the need, or what is the problem that we are solving? What is the goal for our project? Then, once we have a list of goals, then there we will have to evaluate those goals and identify what are the most important goals. Can all goals be achieved? Some may not be practical. So, we will have to evaluate the goals that we have identified. Then, after that, for those goals, we will have to start generating plans or generating proposals for those identified goals. Then, once we have these plans, once we have these proposals, we'll have to evaluate them to see which is the best one, which are the most suitable one in our use case. Then, we will go and keep on improving these in a cyclic manner. So, we will not stop at this at once. So, we will go through and then we will again go back and continue. So, we will go in this cyclic manner. So, that is one of the things that we will do. We will go in a cyclic manner. So, that is the basic idea of design thinking process. So, that is a cyclic continuous evolution process of finding goals, evaluating goals, generating plans, evaluating those plans, and then continuously improving those goals and plans. So, when we think about design, design is going to be not just a singular task or a one dimensional task. It is going to involve input from various different aspects. So, for example, you may try to build a solution for certain set of people. Then you may need to build a product at the end, or you may have to use certain products. You have certain methods, tools, and knowledge at your organization or on your own to solve those problems or build that plan, build the design. Then certain organizations may be involved there. In certain situation, the ecology may be the where you are building, the country, the landscape, all these things may be there. The economy may be an important factor, macroeconomy and microeconomy. So whether people can afford the solution that you are building, and what are some of the processes that we will have to consider. So there are various aspects that we will have to think about when we are going about designing in projects. So the main thing that we do with designing is we are planning for changing some existing undesired situations into preferred ones. So there is a group of people, they have a problem, we want to change that into a acceptable solution. So there we are changing an undesirable situation into an acceptable solution. So we start with that. We want to end up with an acceptable solution. So then that changing process is the designing that we are doing. And as we said, the overall designing process is going to be influenced by various things. It is going to be influenced by the people, by the products, by the tools, processes, organizations, economy, ecology, all these things are going to be influencing us. Then that also means it cannot be a single disciplinary knowledge may not be enough in building successful designs, building functional designs. So you need to have a level of multidisciplinary approach. So even if you think about the projects that you have developed as part of this course, for many of these things you may have had to refer to materials from different domains, things from human behavior, natural systems, how sometimes if you are building something relevant to plantation system, then you may need to refer to some biology, engineering, so various different sciences. So these are what we identify as multidisciplinary knowledge that would be necessary to building successful designs. So you need to develop some of these knowledge on your own, and then sometimes you may be acquiring this knowledge from other personnel. So you may include other people in your groups who may have some expertise in those things. You may consult with other parties, and by doing these type of things, you can build this multidisciplinary approach to design. Then another thing that we will come across when we think about design in technological domains, in engineering domains, is what is called design research. So here what we talk about when we are talking about design research is this is where we study about designs themselves. So to identify knowledge about designs. So identifying like the purposefulness of the designs, the something that has not been done before, um, identifying if something is generic that can be applied across multiple domains, if there is a validity to saying that this design is better than the other. So identifying these things, there are certain research processes that may be available. We can carry out some aspects to make sure that our design, whatever the design that we are doing, is acceptable, is purposeful, is valid across different domains. So we may use some of these approaches as well. So when we talk about the design research process, it may involve knowledge from various things like existing theories, certain design guidelines, standard guidelines, certain methodologies that already exist, tools that we can use, certain standards that we may have, certain materials that we can use, certain processes and technologies that we can use. So, what we do is we take all of these things, we take all of these various aspects of our knowledge, and we use this to build more effective and more efficient designs. So, the main goal of design research is identifying all these things and using that knowledge to build better products that are more novel, that are new, that are high quality, that are more reliable. So we will test these things, we will study about these things, and making sure that they use less resources, we can quickly manufacture them. So many of these things we can do by engaging some of these design research studies. Then, another thing that you may come across when you are talking about design is going to be influenced by three significant aspects. So, if we talk about design, the problem that we are solving, for example, if you are building a solution for a group of people, then the society is involved there. Then whatever the technological system that you are designing is going to use some technological foundation to build that solution. But then if we want to make that a reality as a product, for example, then some amount of business is going to be involved so that that can be manufactured, marketed, and sold as a product to solve the problem of those people. So when we think about design, it is going to take in information, knowledge from all society, business, and technology, and it is going to integrate all of these things to provide a solution to a problem. It is going to better a current situation using this approach, this design. But one of the things that we can see is these different aspects of society, of businesses, of technology, they may have different and sometimes opposing interest in terms of what they want to achieve. So they may not always want the same things for to be happening in a particular project environment. So if we, for example, if we think about society or designing for society, so what a society expects is value for them. So here, what we need to know is we need to know the domain of the problem. So we need to know the domain of the problem. So the users and the problem, we need to know that. So if we know that, we can actually know these things using certain approaches such as using focus groups or questionnaires, various studies. So we can use some of these approaches to gain a domain knowledge. But what the society would expect from us from a design would be building solutions that are safe, that are reliable, that are economical, that are sustainable, that are ergonomic, that are aesthetic. So that is some of these things you are fairly familiar with. So it should be safe. So for example, if you build a device, it should not catch fire, it should not heat up. So those are safety and reliability factors. Economy would be a significant factor. So you cannot build something that is not affordable to the intended user group. So if you are building something for students, you should be able to market that at a price point that everybody is able to buy them. Then sustainability is an important factor. Ergonomics and aesthetics are also important. So how easy they are to use, how nice they look. In certain cases, they are also important factors that we'll have to think about when we are designing our systems. But when we think of it from a business point of view, here we are mainly going to be focusing on cost of materials, cost of manufacturing. So those are the sort of main focuses that we are going to have. And we will also think about how affordable it is going to be for users. Because if it is not affordable to users, then it will not be profitable. So profit is going to be the focus there. So here we will do things like cost modeling. So that is identifying what is the life cycle cost of a product. Um, so this is mainly going to be about the costs and profits. From a business point of view, that is what we will focus. We will not, whereas society and people have a different focus and businesses will have a different focus. And sometimes they may be opposing. For example, uh, people, the society may want something that is sustainable, but sustainable products may be more costly. So business may not want to do that. So then we may have to find a balance between that. And the third one is technology. And with technology, we will have different challenges. What is one is we need to know the technology, we have access to the technology. So it doesn't mean something theoretically can be done. Can we actually practically do that? Do we have the resources to do that? How feasible it is? So here feasibility is going to be the key here. So just because people want a solution, we may not always be able to build that within a budget that is provided by the business end of things. So we will have to find a match that is solving the problem of society within the business constraints and the technological feasibilities. So we will have to identify these boundaries between these three factors. So when we think about product design as an overall activity, we can see that as a significantly creative activity. Even though we will involve a lot of technological aspects, a lot of technological innovations, processes may be there, but it will still involve a significant aspect of creativity, particularly when we are talking about this balancing act between society, businesses, and technology. So, this balancing act between these entities, that is where we are going to see the significant aspect of creativity to balance out between these things and still produce something that is usable as a product. So, when we talk about product design, this is where we start from, say, for example, the things that you may have developed for this course, the projects that you may have done, they may be at the level of a prototype. But when it is going to be marketed as a product, then you will have to think about aesthetics, ergonomics, costs, and all these things, and bring in all those aspects and taking it up to the level of manufacturing. So that is the main thing that we will have to have when we think about product design. So we will start from a need. So we will start from the need, and it may not be fully defined, not a fully structured point, but we will have to end up with a plan that is well defined and well structured. So unless we have a very well defined and well structured plan, we will not be able to do a proper product design. So, another thing that we will come across when we talk about design is the need for continuous improvements in design and that continuous improvement with product designs. So what you see in this graph is a typical life cycle of a particular product, for example. So initially a product may be introduced and not a lot of sales are happening. Then at some point it will take off and you will have see a significant growth. But at some point the growth in sales may stop and you will reach a maturity point and you will reach a saturation point. But after that, there will be new products, new solutions, new systems. So your product will start to fall in popularity and the sales will fall. So, what you need to do to catch and keep it at this maturity level is keep on innovating and bringing in new lines of products so that you are always at the top of the line. So, never going in the decline. So, if you don't want to go in decline, you will have to have this continuous innovative design process. So, that is one of the main reasons why we talk about design, particularly. That is, if we want to have continuous success in a business venture, we need to have innovation, and but we also need to think about these various things about design needs for society, design needs for businesses, design needs or limitations that are coming from technology. And considering all these things, we'll have to do our product designs. So the overall business process should involve and give significant importance to product designs and focus on product design at the early stage of product development so that we can have fairly approachable processes and have continuous innovation and continuous success in a business venture. So, for example, in the context of this course, what the technologies that we have studied, they are largely things that are putting together the knowledge that we have gained only from the technological domain. But we have not much focused on the societal or the business domains. Maybe a slightly on the societal domain when we are thinking about what problem the project is solving. So you may have thought about that. But from a business domain, many of you may not have thought anything about it. But when you're actually building these things into projects, building these into products and designing them as products, you may have to think about those things. You may have to leave out some of your project aspects because they are not economically viable. You may need to add more features because that's what users want. So you may have to consider all these things when you are building and designing projects. So hopefully this aspect of design would become useful in not just in this course but also in many other courses that you may come across in the upcoming semesters and then later in your life as well. And this is one of the few places where you may study about designs throughout your program. So hopefully you got something valuable out of it. And if you have any questions, please let me know through the usual communication channels. And this would be the last lecture of this course. So again, if you have any particular questions about this lesson or any other lessons of this course, please reach out to me through the usual communication channels. And until next time in another course, thank you for participating in this one and see you next time. Bye.